What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Hydreigons. It's been a while since I said that intro, but I'm here with the NPL tryout draft analysis for my behalf and what kind of team I drafted for this tournament. But before we go into that, pretty short preview of what this is about. This is basically about me attempting to try to get into the NPL league itself. This is the second part of the application progress. The first part was the very standard progress where you're filling your basic information, and based from that there were a certain amount of courses which were fortunate enough to be selected in to this tryout tournament, and this is where the real shit goes down, basically, where who gets in and who gets not with based on the results can be coming into play. That if you do really well, obviously it's gonna help you out. Then your activity in the Discord, how you communicate with people, the scheduling stuff, and then there is the how you upload your games, or the draft analysis, what kind of quality you're able to provide and what kind of skills you have to provide those. All those things are kind of the stuff that the NPL wants to utilize with this tournament, that they can scout out us who want to be part of the NPL tournament, and hopefully for my case obviously I could be able to make it in. And this is gonna be the draft analysis, and we are gonna be going through what 11 mons I end up drafting. And the draft itself works in that it's a point system draft where highest priced mons which were allowed were 18 points, and then it goes between 17, 16, 15, etc. all the way to the 1 point category. And the 18 point category basically are the best mons, being priced as the highest, and the 1 point category is kind of the most like Munchlax, so some of these like non-involved mons, or just really bad mons competitively, which you can still give a shot if you have the point available and you are willing to pick them. So there's a lot of variety and the options you can do with point system draft because of that, what kind of route you want to go with. And due to the fact that we are allowed to pick between 9 mons to the 12 mon category, like you can pick between that number, you can pick amount of mons to your draft. You can go with 10 or you go with the 11 like I did. So it's a very cool draft system in my opinion, in that sense that it gives a lot of options to coaches how you want to go about it. Sea captaincy I'm gonna touch on once we go through my draft. I'm gonna be able to explain there a lot easier or a lot simpler way. And when it comes to the draft itself, that draft order and how many people were involved in this whole kind of tournament, there were I believe 16 courses in 3 different draft pools. So draft pool 1 had 16 courses, draft pool 2 had 16 courses, and draft pool 3 had 16 courses. So I was part of one of those pools, and I was fortunate enough to get randomized to have the first overall pick. And with that first overall pick, I decided I'm gonna go with the mon which is probably the most popular mon right now in a draft league format. Some of also believe that it's the best mon in the format. This is kind of like my best chance to kind of at first hand to see that how I feel about it, if it's the best mon in the format or not, in my opinion. But it's definitely top 5 mon in the format and very good what it does. So the first mon what I end up drafting happens to be Taboo Cocoa, what I drafted here. It's gonna be costing 18 points out of my 115 category, what we were given as a point total. And Taboo Cocoa itself is a mod that I really wanted to draft because of how rarely I really get chance to have a high pick. I have really shitty luck when it comes to whenever there's a luck in play. I have a shitty luck with most of those things. So I was kind of like, since I was given and blessed with having a first overall pick, I might as well go for it, because I don't know whenever I get a chance to use this thing yet again. And as you can tell from the screen, it holding Electrium C will be meaning that this is gonna be one of my 2 C captains. And the C captaincy points were 25, which were given to every single team. So me having 25 points at the start, and if I want to make Taboo Cocoa as my C captain, that means that also costs me 18 points out of that 25 point category. Which means that whatever other C captains I want to name, I have now 7 points left. And yeah, that's basically how the sea captaincy works for each team. Some of the teams may go with something like 10 and 15 point mons together, so they would combine having that 25 points. So that's basically how that works. But going back to the draft itself and why I picked Tapu Koko, basically I wanted to give it a try. Gives me a fast mono right from the get-go, which is really important to have. That so you have some sort of speed control into the matchups in that way. And yeah, it's a Tapu Koko. Every one of us had to face it at least once by now, and we know how annoying it can be. It's the best momentum gainer with Volt Switch and U-turn. Nature's Madness is great, Fast Taunt is great, mixed options are great, and the electric terrain can play into your advantage as well if you use it properly, either having some kind of unburden user or anything like that. So that is the basic idea with Tapu Koko, my motivations of picking it. And now I just want to draft around Tapu Koko as best as possible to have a proper support its weaknesses to ground, proper resistance and immunity to the poison as well. I actually end up doing both immediately, having immunities to both, and kinda securing my first pick in that sense, that it's now supported properly defensively wise, and they can support Tapu Koko in other ways as well. And the next two picks, what I did do in my first will as back-to-back picks, were Cloister and Ferrothorn. And talking about first about the Cloister itself, it cost me 13 points as total, and this Ferrothorn cost me 12 points in total. And going to the Cloister, why I wanted to draft it with Tapu Koko is mainly because it gave me a crown immunity. It gave me a crown type, which is very important to have, and it's a crown type that I've been kind of interested to give it a try for a bit. I feel like I'm kind of the ghost who can really make it shine, and I feel like paired with Tapu Koko and giving me like a momentum core with their having options to set up Sword Dance, options to actually bottom pass stats like Agility alone or Sword Dance alone can be a really cool option. And Cloister has basically like 20 moves or what, even above maybe 20 moves what it can run. It has Poison Heal as ability, which we know is a pretty obnoxious ability, to be honest, to deal with. Why did Game Freak decide to give this thing up Poison Heal as ability and make it so obnoxious for every single one of us to be at least annoyed by Cloister once when we had to face it, let's be honest. So at least this time around I can be the one who is gonna be annoying people with it, and I feel like it has more upside to it than just being just an annoying star breaker or just sitting there. I can do more things with it, and hopefully I can kind of showcase that throughout this tournament as well. And talking about the Ferrothorn, next up, there's not really I need to explain too much what Ferrothorn does. I feel like every single one of you from my audience at least know what Ferrothorn does. It's pretty straightforward. It's a Fat Steel type, Fat Grass type, and it set up hazards, both Stealth Rocks and Spikes. So now I have 2 Stealth Rockers combined with Cloister. Cloister also has a defog alongside with Tapu Koko, so I'm kinda getting up there with my hazard control and hazard setters in that matter. And Ferrothorn and Cloister together kinda pair well together with the typings when you think about it. I'm basically causing headache with hidden powers already. I'm supporting Cloister's water weakness really well with Ferrothorn resisting it, and Ferrothorn's fighting weakness is pretty well dealt with Cloister as well. So they pair well together in a lot of ways in that sense. So, and they are great fit with Tapu Koko because now I have those immunities to Tapu Koko's weaknesses, and I have plethora of hazards to set up, which can really kind of make opponent even deal with more chip damage what Tapu Koko and my other things would be doing. So I like where the synergy is going with these two and how they pair with Tapu Koko. And the next up what I decide to go with on my 4th pick happened to be regular Kyurem, which also cost me 12 points as much as the Ferrothorn did as well. So I'm quite happy with Kyurem, and Kyurem is kind of a mon which I always thought that, man, if I ever draft Tapu Koko, that thing can be a really nice pair with it, because when you really think about what typings Tapu Koko usually try to be checked by are bulky grass types and bulky ground types. I have Kyurem now. I can pretty much deal with those two typings quite well and give myself a very good mon to really utilize the fact that Taboo Cocoa lures those typings in. My opponent has to switching to one of those two mons, so the mon what is in the field versus the Taboo Cocoa itself doesn't get bodied by it. And then I go into this thing and I proceed to deal massive damage or killing stuff. So I really like the fact how they pair together in that sense. I like the pressure ability. I like the fact it also has reliable recovery in roost, just like Cloister and Taboo Cocoa has so far on my team. Yeah, and look at those stats are just phenomenal, like holy crap. Both attack stat of 130, the HP stat being so high, defense stat being really respectable, and speed tier being really decent for a wall breaker, and a potential Scarfer as well if I feel like it. So I really like how current fits, and being 12 points, I always feel like it's always a really good pick when someone does it at 12 points, or if you're doing a GBA system draft where you have it them in tiers, it's usually tier 3, and I always think that's a really good tier 3 pick to do if you have a fit for it. So thankfully for once I'm the one doing that pick, and because of how much experience I have using Current Black, I feel like I can definitely make Current shine too, even though this is my first time using it. But off to the next pick, what I picked alongside with Current on this will happen to be actually Tentacruel, and Tentacruel cost me, I believe it was 11 points, as we're gonna be showing from the layout. Yep, it was 11 points itself, and Tentacruel to me has been one of those very reliable soldiers, if I can say that, from a draft league mon on its own. It's basically been one of the most reliable mons what I ever used in draft league format for what it does. And what it does basically, it gives me a bulky water type, which is not the bulkiest one out there, but it's bulky enough for my liking, what I usually need it for. I like its dual typing, I like the fact it can rapid spin, I like the fact it can set up toxic spikes, and I like the options what it has that doesn't make it relatively too passive to my opponent to capitalize on it, because it has haste, it has acid spray, it has knockoff, it has decent coverage moves. Oh, it also gets Sword Dance, so why not run Sword Dance Tentacruel in one of these matchups? Just saying. Not really gonna be pulling it, but basically what I was going with it is that even though it's pretty mediocre on offensive standpoint and physical defensive side, because of its typing, its speed, and its move pool, and with its abilities as well, with Liquid Ooze and Clear Body, I have found a lot of good value in it every single time I've had it, and I feel like it's gonna be a really good fit with Ferrothorn and a really good fit with Cloister, and giving that toxic spikes and has a control option for my Curem and Taboo Cocoa as well, which can really be favoring me and putting a lot of pressure into my opponent in that regard, and be really obnoxious for them to deal with it, honestly. So that is the idea with that pick. Next up I went with Incineroar, which was actually 7-point mon, which was highly surprising that it was so low. Like, I would think that Incineroar, after it got Intimidate as its hidden ability released, that it should be in a point system draft like this. It should be at least 10 or 9 points at least, which means that I basically got it on sale at 7 points, and I can tell right now, after I saw Shaco King, shout out to him by the way, on the fly here, that he actually wanted this thing right before I picked it. So I guess suck on Shaco King, I guess. I didn't really mean it, honestly. I didn't think he would want it, but I'm not surprised that he did, because knowing that how valuable it is, dark typing be such a prevalent typing to have, it's so good. You always need to have a dark type, in my opinion. And adding to the fact it had the Intimidate, Fire typing, the coverage what it has, the fact that it's gonna be my second Sea Captain, and those 7 points what I have left off after making the Taboo Cocoa as the Sea Captain, it kind of just worked perfectly for me that I had seen Incineroar here sitting. And yeah, I'm really excited to use it. I never used it before, so this is gonna be a great chance for me. I'm already with my first 4 picks. Besides Tentacruel and Ferrothorn, all of these mons are relatively new or completely new for me to try out, so I'm pretty happy so far in that sense that I'm doing something different. And in case you didn't know, that's not something I'm tend to do with my traps, so I'm doing something new today, but I'm still very happy where the drafting is going so far. And after this pick, I decided to go with Licky, which is actually going to be also 7 points, as well as the Incineroar. And for Licky's case, I think it's pretty proper price. It's finally given the recognition, at least in this league. When it comes to its price, I feel like 7 is fair. Maybe could be 6, but at least it's been not being underpriced anymore, in a sense that it's a great wish passer. Oblivious makes it that it's not a taunt fodder. You cannot taunt it as long as the ability comes into play. Unless you're, I guess, like a Hydreigon and you have Mold Breaker, then I guess you can taunt me. But unless that scenario would be in place, you basically cannot shut me down, and I can get my wish passing whenever I feel like. And whenever I'm healthy enough to take the hit first. And it has a pretty wide move pool, being like normal types always have a great move pool. And barring its speed stat, like basically Incineroar and both Licky are kind of funny that they are picked back to back, in a sense that they are very similar to their stat contribution. God damn, that's a hard word for me to say. Both of them have really good speed stats besides the speed itself. But I'm okay with it as long as I'm able to pick up some speed later on besides my Taboo Cocoa, which I have my radar on. And you're gonna be see later on how I'm gonna pick up the speed. But I like how the Licky fits to this team. Some of my mods can really use that wish passing. It gave me cleric options so far. And the more what I'm gonna be actually picking right after this one can be really disgusting with the Licky, and why not? Why not add a little bit more fat and kind of complete the fat core right there, and having Yuxi next as our pick, starting from this next wheel. They're gonna be back-to-back wheel picks with Yuxi, and the second pick I'm gonna be talking right after this one. But the reason why I picked Yuxi was that I needed a fighting resist. When you look at my team and you think about a good fighting type with a proper coverage, yep, I'm getting fucked. I needed a good fighting resist besides that, so I feel like Yuxi can fill in that role. It can fill in so many roles so well, because when you look at its defense stats, you got speed tier of 95 for a wall, just like Tentacruel having that base speed of 100. That's phenomenal for a pivot or for a wall. He gave me a third stealth rocker, so now Ferrothorn and Cloister are even less pressure to set them up for me if I run Yuxi with them. He gave me second cleric option, and when you think about Licky and Yuxi together, yep, it's not gonna be easy getting through those two. And when you combine those with my earlier picks with the wall calls, yeah, I have a pretty disgusting balance team going on. Only thing what is lacking is a physical wall breaker, which we are getting next, and then I just need a proper speed control, and then I'm pretty much set to go, honestly. And talking about the next pick, which is gonna be the physical wall breaker, which I picked right after this one on my will pick, happened to be Heracross. And Heracross, let me tell you, this thing is one of my new favorites when it comes to competitively wise. I love this thing as a wall breaker because of the guts, plus the flame offset, and the fact that the burn nerf has been a thing in Generation 7 that really benefited fighting types which have access to guts ability, like Heracross, like Hariyama, like Conkeldurr, for example. Those mods really benefited from that, cause now they can last longer now, and basically now they have to have less damage from just that recall, and more like Heracross. Now I can keep it around quite a bit longer, especially with wish passing support. And if I get this thing in versus like fat normal types or fat steel types or fat grass types, which my other offensive threats kind of lure them into, like Taboo Cocoa and Kyurem are perfect partners with this thing, and I have things like Incineroar which can potentially in some scenarios work as a perfect partner to go along with it. So I'm pretty happy how Heracross should be fitting into this team. It gave me a new speed tier as well with 85, and it's a great choice carver option besides Kyurem as well. So I'm kind of digging it so far, how it's gonna fit. I'm really excited to use this thing again. I'm pretty confident it should It should do its thing for me and be pretty good at it. And after this, I only have 2 picks to go for myself. I had 15 points left, but I decided to spend them on 2 mons separately. And the last 2, what I end up going with, you actually saw them already on a thumbnail, and in case you forgot what they were Alolan-Raichu, which I don't know why it's 4 points. Let's talk about that for a minute. Why on earth on Alolan-Raichu is 4 points when you can potentially pair with Taboo Cocoa? If you haven't faced that core yet, yikes. It's kinda underrated core, and I was kinda happy that I was able to make it happen for my trap, cause one, Alolan-Raichu is one of my personal favorites from Generation 7, fun fact for those who care. And dual typing of Electric and Psychic is pretty underrated. Let's say a lot of grass types tend to be also pop poison types like Amoonguss and Roserade and Venusaur. Now I have a secondary stab to hit them super effectively. And then there are things like Nidos, for example, which are ground types, but they are also pop poison type. Secondary stab which to pop them. So there are some benefits for it to Alolan-Raichu actually having that additional dual stab, besides what Raichu already got access to, and Alolan-Raichu just got a little bit more wider move pool because now, being pop psychic type, it also has access to dual screens and the Psyshock and Psykick, and access to Calm Mind as well to go along with it. Not that I already had Nasty Plot to be having access to. So there are a lot of things that I can do with Alolan-Raichu when it comes to be a winning condition. For the late game, it gave me a phenomenal speed control, cause I get a double speed. Besides my 110 speed here, which is a great speed already, I can double that when the electric terrain is in effect, so watch out for that. And it just gave me there for the extra winning condition, and I can be really annoying versus teams that are very electric weak with their own teams. So I'm quite excited about this pick. Hopefully I can use it often enough that I get the good feeling out of it. And then the last pick, which I already rebuilt, the Mega Pidgeot. This mon kinda gained new fun respect for me, at least how I saw it in Draft League format after I've been helping coach or YouTuber called Frosted in the UBL. She actually has a team with Mega Pidgeot, and after building teams for her or with her past few weeks, I've been honestly quite surprised how good this thing is. Sure, it's the no-card Hurricane, which we all love about Mega Pidgeot, and we know about it, what makes it tick. But there are some other things which I noticed when we have building with her, with Mega Pidgeot, for her matchups, that there are a lot of things I can do with this thing. Yeah, it has a limited move pool coverage wise, but the speed here, what it has, the fact that how good Flying Stab is offensively, and the other cool utility options you can do with it, and reliable recovery and roost, it's pretty good. It's not like an elite Mega Evolution to pick, but I really like it on this team, cause now when we kind of look at this team as a whole, as we wrap out this video and the draft recap, look at bulky grass types and look at my team. And when you think about that, at the beginning of Taboo Cocoa and the things what usually tends to be things to try to check it were the bulky grass types, bulky ground types, any kind of special walls, I guess. I have Heracross to deal with special walls and nuke them. I have Kyurem and Mega Pidgeot to deal with those bulky grass types, and Incineroar to go along with it. And I guess Tentacruel with its secondary stab to poison. So there are a lot of things I like about this draft. The only thing what I kind of left down by the draft is that my only like elite mon to rely on every single matchup would be Taboo Cocoa. Everything else is solid, but I don't have the intimidation on my team that there are some pretty disgusting broken looking drafts what other have, but they might not have the death what I have. And that's hopefully gonna be the key aspect how I can really be successful in this tournament, that I have a lot of options. I have 11 mons, every single one of them are really good what they can do, And I feel like I have good synergy with my offense and my defensive cores, and I have other, basically the things you need to have in a draft. So let me know how you feel about the draft. Like I said, I'm quite happy with it. I'm excited about it. We just have to see how it works in action, and I'm gonna be facing, at least what I remember, I have to face Excellent Name, and I have to face Shiny Sableye, aka Ben, who I know myself that they are really good coaches. Then there is coach called Carney, who is part of the NPL itself, but he's just gonna be part of the tournament just for fun. And then there are two other coaches who I don't know by name, but I cannot underestimate it. I'm kind of spooked by it because I don't know anything about them, so it's kind of like I'm going into an unknown area with facing them. I don't know how they're gonna be preparing unless I see them battling at first hand in this tournament. So it's gonna be a rough challenge. Hopefully I can do well, and more importantly, hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Let me know how you liked about the team, and just stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't yet to make sure that you won't be missing out the upcoming battles, what I'm gonna be having with this team. And until next time, I'll be see you guys later.